We are not robots. We feel things. We can't survive on comedic bromances and CGI-ed action sequences alone. We like our joy, but we need our sadness, too. So bring a box of Kleenex and settle in for some melancholic movie watching. It's not about wallowing in misery. It's about getting lost in a story that captures the full human experience with all of its highs and lows. A good drama hits you right where it hurts, whether it's Blue Valentine's broken romance or Fruitvale Station's sense of injustice. If these cinematic tearjerkers don't have you crying, keening, and curling up into a little ball, we don't know what will. Advertisement. Read these stories next. The viral words you need to know. Heartbreaking movies you should never watch alone. Happy songs that will instantly put you in a good mood. 1 of 118 Mudbound, 2017. After World War II, 2 soldiers come home to the families in the Mississippi Delta. Ronsel Jackson, Jason Mitchell, goes home to his family's small house, where they live as sharecroppers on Jamie McCallan's Garrett Headland family farm. Both bring home scars from the war that only the other can understand. Relationship sets forth a devastating domino effect. 2 of 118 What Maisie Knew. 2012. The little girl learns about the foibles of the human condition early on, when she's treated like a pawn in her parents' custody battle. Advertisement. 3 of 118 Call Me By Your Name. 2017. Elio, Timothy Chalamet, and Oliver Armie Hammer have a special love, the kind you spend your teenage years hoping exists. Alas, circumstance, one of the top enemies of great love, rears its head. Will cry. 4 of 118 Finding Neverland. 2004. The movie about J.M. Barrie and the creation of Peter Pan hits you where it hurts. The fleeting nature of childhood, the tragedy of losing a loved one, the realization that we all must leave Neverland. 5 of 118 Dead Man Walking. 1995. As his day of execution inches closer, Matthew Poncelot, Sean Penn, a young man in prison, calls on Sister Helen Prejean, Susan Sarandon, to help him appeal his sentence. Sister Helen finds herself forming a bond with both the killer and his victims' families. 6 of 118 Bicentennial Man. 1999. In 2005, the Martin family gets their very own robot. Andrew Robin Williams is supposed to help out with chores and facilitating daily life. Unfortunately for Andrew, he's developing a bit of a soul. And robots with a soul will never be happy. Confined to servitude. 7 of 118 Grave of the Fireflies. 1988. Further proof that cartoons aren't always funny. This Studio Ghibli movie is set in Japan during World War II. A boy and his younger sister fight for their lives at the war's end. Advertisement. 8 of 118 Hachi, A Dog's Tale. 2009. Any story about the unconditional love between a dog and its owner is bound to make you tear up. This particular dog story is about a college professor, Richard Gere, who takes in a stray, and, of course, can't prepare for what happens next. 9 of 118 Cast Away. 2000. It's sad to see the "who would you take to a desert island" question played out in real life, and with such a dismal answer. The only person Chuck Noland, Tom Hanks, can actually bring with him is a volleyball with her face drawn on it. 1 of 118 The Way We Were. 1973. Katie Morosky, Barbra Streisand, and Hubble Gardner, Robert Redford, love each other so much, but not even love is enough to surmount their diametrically opposed value systems. Katie's very liberal Jewish activist. Hubble's a complacent wasp. When Katie's political beliefs start to impact Hubble's career as a screenwriter in 1950s Red Scare era Hollywood, not even love can save them. 1 of 118 Via Gifford. Lion King. 1994. The Lion King is an unbearably sad lesson in loss and abandonment, taught to kids at a young age. Who needs Hamlet when you could get the same story in cartoon form, set on the savannah? 12 of 118 The Wrestler. 2008. After a stellar career as a wrestler, Randy Robinson, Mickey Rourke, thinks he can make it back into the professional wrestling circuit, but is confronted with the realities of aging. What's a wrestler to do when he can't wrestle anymore? The Wrestler is a bleak portrait of getting old. Advertisement. 13 of 118 Lion. 2017. Technically, Lion can be considered uplifting. In the movie, which is based off a true story, a 5-year-old boy is separated from his older brother on a trip to the city from the rural village in India. The boy, Saru, is adopted by a couple in Australia and grows up with the gnawing memory of his past family. Using Google Earth, he's able to reconnect with his family. The sequence of Saru lost in Kolkata is utterly devastating. 0.14 of 118 Big Fish, 2003. Don't let the joyful whimsy of this film trick you into thinking it'll be a magical realism romp through the American heartland. All tales aside, Big Fish is the story of an estranged father and son trying to understand one another before the father dies. William "Billy" Crudup wants to separate the fact from fiction in his father Edward's Albert Finney stories, but for his father the two are one and the same. 0.15 of 118 The English Patient, 1996, were such slaves to tragic romances set during wartime, aren't we? This Anthony Minghella-directed epic starring Ralph Fiennes and Queen of Fucking Everything Kristen Scott Thomas reduced romantics to tears and has a pile of Oscars to show for it. Pictured, Ralph Fiennes and Kristen Scott Thomas. 16 of 118 Wind River, 2017. At the start of Wind River, an FBI agent, Elizabeth Olsen, makes the drive from Las Vegas to the desolate Wyoming Native American reservation of Wind River to investigate the murder of a local girl. Completely adrift, she teams up with local tracker Jeremy Renner to solve the crime, and ends up unearthing a gruesome precedent of violence against women in the process. Based on a true story, Wind River is a maelstrom of devastating elements: murder, sexual assault, the bleak Wyoming countryside in winter, forces of economic repression. You'll cry on multiple occasions. 0.17 of 118 Mustang, 2015. After the neighbors catch them playing a harmless after-school game with boys, 5 orphan Turkish sisters are given an outsized punishment. Their conservative head mother and uncle decide to lock the sisters in the house, and embark on a mission of making the girls marriageable. One by one, the teenagers are forced to end their childhoods early. But they're not submitting without a fight. Advertisement. 18 of 118 Mr. Nobody, 2009. The premise of Mr. Nobody is simple. A young boy is forced to make an impossible choice between his parents, but the movie's execution is anything but. Mr. Nobody explores the branches his life could have taken, based on whether he chooses to stay with his mother or father. The film relies on sci-fi themes and imaginative, interweaving storylines to get at a nagging sensation we all have: where else could the course of our lives have taken us? To where did our decisions lead? 19 of 118 £7, 2008. Tim Will Smith kills 7 people in a tragic car accident. As karmic retribution, he plans to donate his organs to 7 good people after he commits suicide. With such a grim subject matter, tears, or at least deep existential probing, are inevitable. 0.20 of 118 Little England, 2013. On the Greek island of Andros in the 40s, 20-year-old Orsa falls madly, desperately in love with her fellow islander named Spiros, but her controlling mother, Mina, deems the match unfit. Orsa marries a sea captain, and her love, a lieutenant, goes to war. When he returns, Mina marries Orsa's younger sister, Moshe, to the lieutenant. All living under the same house, Spiros and Orsa's secret love will threaten to break just about everyone's hearts. 0.21 of 118 Kramer vs. Kramer, 1979. In this harrowing portrait of the emotional toil of divorce, Ted, Dustin Hoffman, and Joanna Kramer, Meryl Streep, fight for custody over the son. 0.22 of 118 Beatriz at Dinner, 2017. Beatriz Selma Hayek is a deeply empathetic, kind Mexican immigrant who's had quite a hard week. Her neighbor killed her pet goat. When her car breaks down at her wealthy employer's house, she's reluctantly invited to join the dinner. At the dinner, celebrating, Beatriz goes head-to-head with a callous billionaire, and feels steamrolled by forces of capitalism. It's a quiet, disturbing movie that'll make you weep for the underdog. Advertisement. 23 of 118 Crash, 2004. Should it have won the Academy Award for Best Picture over Brokeback Mountain? Probably not. But will this movie about Los Angelinos whose lives collide in the wake of a terrible car crash make you cry? Absolutely. 0.24 of 118 West Side Story, 1961. Like all Romeo and Juliet adaptations, you go into this musical knowing what to expect from an ending. and like all the best adaptations, the ending still feels like a massive sucker punch. 25 of 118 After the wedding, 2006, Jacob Peterson, Mads Mikkelsen, has dedicated his life to an orphanage in India. When a wealthy Dane, Jørgen Rolf Lashgaard, promises to donate $4 million to his orphanage if Jacob meets him in person, Jacob complies. Jacob finds there's another stipulation: he must attend Jørgen's daughter's wedding, where Jacob's past will converge with the present in a shocking way. This melodramatic movie will have you guessing and cry until the end. 26 of 118 My Best Friend's Wedding, 1997. Just because this movie has Julia Roberts and a wedding doesn't mean it's a romantic comedy. Julianne Potter, Julia Roberts, and her best friend Michael O'Neill, Dermot Mulroney, had a long-standing deal to marry each other if they were still single at 28. On the eve of their 28th birthdays, Michael announces he's marrying a much younger woman. Will Julianne confess her love for him before the big day? 27 of 118 Melancholia, 2011. Lars von Trier would stage a wedding at the end of the world. As Earth heads toward a fatal collision with the planet Melancholia, two sisters handle it differently. Claire Kirsten Dunst focuses on her extravagant wedding, and Justine Charlotte Gainsbourg buckles under the fear of disaster. Advertisement. 28 of 118 Pan's Labyrinth, 2006. In 1944, in fascist Spain, a young girl and her ailing mother moved to the countryside. While there, Ophelia encounters the faun Pan, who tells her she is a secret princess and can achieve immortality should she complete 3 tasks. As Ophelia is pulled deeper into a fantasy, the political sphere interferes drastically in their daily lives. Reality, fantasy, and tragedy blur together in this Alice in Wonderland for adults. 29 of 118 Like Crazy, 2011. Anna and Anna fall headfirst into a furious, passionate, life-altering kind of love at the end of their senior year of college. The only issue: in an oversight of the heart, Anna Felicity Jones overstays her student visa, and is banned from re-entering the United States. With Jacob Anton Yelchin in Los Angeles and Anna in London, their love is strained under transatlantic pressures. 30 of 118 Awakenings, 1990. After 3 decades spent in a catatonic state, victims of the epidemic of encephalitis lethargica are given another chance at life when a doctor finds a miracle cure. Starring Robert De Niro and Robin Williams, Awakenings is based on the true story of Oliver Sacks, who discovered benefits of a new drug L-Dopa. Think Sleeping Beauty, but more true and way more tear-jerking. 31 of 118 Ordinary people. In this bleak movie burdened by grief, an extremely wealthy Chicago family is torn apart by the tragic death of their eldest son. After his brother's death, a guilt-ridden Buck attempts suicide. The movie starts when Buck returns home and attempts to reconnect with his cold, angry mother, Mary Tyler Moore, and his wounded father, Donald Sutherland. 32 of 118 Into the Wild, 2007. A movie that portrays the dark underbelly of youthful adventures. Into the Wild is further proof that if you're going to take an adventure in Alaska, please bring your guidebook along. Advertisement. 33 of 118 The Pianist, 2002. Based on a true story, The Pianist is about a man who spends the entirety of World War II hiding and in extreme isolation. Władysław Pillman, Adrian Brody, is a Polish-Jewish pianist who lives in Warsaw, and sees his neighborhood shift at the start of the war. He moves into the Jewish ghetto with his family, but the later separated. Władysław drifts around the ruins of Warsaw in this quiet, devastating film. 34 of 118 The Green Mile, 1999. Stephen King doesn't just pen terrifying stories like It and The Shining, he writes devastating ones, too. In The Green Mile, a group of death row prison guards are forever changed by a convict who's unlike the rest of the bunch. Paul Edgecombe, Tom Hanks, had never met anyone like John Coffey, Michael Clark Duncan, thrown in the pen for the supposed murder of 2 little girls. Along with his gentle and naive spirit, John is also graced with something that's decidedly, well, divine. Could he really be a murderer? 35 of 118 Sunset Boulevard, 1950. This 1950 Billy Wilder masterpiece is an Irish cautionary tale of life after fame. Gloria Swanson's Norma Desmond is believed to be a composite of many of the silent film era starlets who descended into reclusiveness and madness after fading into obscurity. Pictured, Gloria Swanson 36 of 118 Bridge to Terabithia 2007. This book made us cry as kids, and the movie made us cry as adults. This charming fantasy adventure film has an ending that's all too real. 37 of 118 Still Alice 2014. Julianne Moore's titular character, Alice, is a professor at Columbia University. After a few incidents of disorientation, she's diagnosed with early-onset dementia. The film tracks her descent into the sickness and the toll Alzheimer's takes on family life. Heartbreaking, emotional, and for many families, all too relatable. Advertisement 38 of 118I. Daniel Blake 2016. Daniel Blake, Dave Johns, just can't catch a break when a heart attack puts him out of work. Named Best British Film at the 2017 BAFTAs, this Ken Loach drama is an indictment on the welfare system and bureaucratic red tape that'll leave you outraged and heartbroken. Pictured, Dave Johns and Hayley Squires 39 of 118 White Material 2009. If you're on a Isabelle Huppert kick thanks to Elle, consider this incredibly intense French drama set in an unnamed African country on the brink of civil war. Huppert plays a coffee plantation owner determined to stay afloat at all costs. To say things get bleak is an understatement. Pictured, Isabelle Huppert 40 of 118 The Greatest 2009. A family's struggle to come to terms with the death of the son grows more complicated when it's revealed that his girlfriend is pregnant with his child. Pictured, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Carey Mulligan 41 of 118 My Sister's Keeper 2009. Based on Jodi Picoult's novel, this tearjerker focuses on a family with two daughters, one diagnosed with leukemia and the other conceived via IVF as a savior sister, meaning she's a medical match who can theoretically donate organs. Drama ensues when the younger sister, Abigail Breslin, sues for medical emancipation. Pictured, Abigail Breslin and Sofia Vasilieva 42 of 118 E.T. The Extraterrestrial 1982. Rumor has it that there are people who have watched this without breaking down, but we don't know who they are. Pictured, E.T. Advertisement 43 of 118 Toy Story 3 2010. We're not crying during a kids movie. You're crying during a kids movie. Pictured, Andy deals Buzz and Woody a harsh blow. 44 of 118 Beginners 2010. Directed by Mike Mills of 20th Century Women fame, this heartfelt drama about a man recovering from the loss of his father earned Christopher Plummer an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. Pictured, Christopher Plummer and Ewan McGregor 45 of 118 Requiem for a Dream 2000. Darren Aronofsky's supremely depressing drugs drama is one long, just say no, PSA. Pictured, Ellen Burstyn 46 of 118 Field of Dreams 1989. You don't have to be a dude with daddy issues, or even a baseball fan to be moved by this tale about second chances. Pictured, Kevin Costner and James Earl Jones 47 of 118 The Light Between Oceans 2016. Real-life couple Alicia Vikander and Michael Fassbender star as a married couple who try to pass off a newborn baby girl they've found as their own child. All goes well until the baby's birth mother resurfaces. Pictured, Alicia Vikander Advertisement 48 of 118 Manchester by the Sea 2016. Catching one of the year's most critically acclaimed films comes with a price: buckets of tears. Grief is at the heart of this story about a man tapped to raise his late brother's teen son. Pictured, Kyle Chandler and Casey Affleck 49 of 118 Edge of 17 2016. Haley Steinfeld's new drama is more emotionally piercing than you might expect from a film aimed at teens. You'll leave feeling grateful that your high school days are behind you. Pictured, Haley Steinfeld and Woody Harrelson 50 of 118 My Life Without Me 2003. Sarah Polly